5.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to my presentation, which is bringing best brain health practices into Second Life. The box you see up here behind me with the Whole Brain Health logo contains many of the most accessible sources for the material I talk about in my presentation. So please click on it to get the bibliography. It has my contact information as well. As you get settled, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I got interested in the brain for personal reasons, which then carried over into my professional life. From 1995 on, my husband and I were caregivers for several close family members who developed degrees of cognitive impairment that ranged from mild to severe. One of them was my mother. We were younger then and had never personally felt the effects of brain disease or deterioration on everybody involved. We'd never really thought about it before. But those experiences, full of moments of sweetness as well as tragedy, made us conscious of the crucial importance of brain health. We wanted to learn what, if anything, could be done to avoid this kind of damage as we grew older. That's the personal piece of my story. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, I should say, and trained life coach with doctoral study in literature as well. I taught literature and composition in colleges for several years. My husband has a PhD in musicology and an academic background in philosophy. He was a college professor for over 40 years and teaches now in lifelong learning programs, as I do. Beginning in 2007, we put our expertise together to explore the connections between music, psychology, and brain health on our blog, Music and Happiness. What we've been learning through study and contact with researchers, primarily in the fields of gerontology, neuropsychology, positive psychology, and the arts, has led to our interest in testing out how their research can be more directly applied to current lifelong learning programs. And that's the professional piece. That said, the research I'll share with you today is also relevant for much younger age groups, because a key mantra in this field is it's never too early or too late to protect your brain and promote its health. Notice that protect is a reactive stance and promote a proactive one. Both are important positions to hold at the same time. Also notice that no one is saying to prevent dementia, particularly Alzheimer's, because at present, unfortunately, no one can promise that. But delaying it for as long as possible is not a bad goal to have right now. Let me first make these disclaimers. I'm not a researcher myself. I'm in contact with researchers and use their guidance to apply their findings. Dr. Cynthia Green of Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City is my chief mentor in bringing best practices in brain health into Second Life, starting with the Total Brain Health Fair, which was held on Blue Moon this past April. Also, my focus here is on the normal brain, keeping it as healthy as possible for as long as possible. I don't pretend to have clinical expertise in brain damage and disease, although again, I'm in contact with professionals who do. I'm not claiming any miraculous results or judging anyone's choices, and as always, you should consult your doctors when you make changes in your lifestyle to be sure they will do you no harm. What I present here is directed to anyone who would like to maximize their chances of staying mentally alert and engaged to the end of life. What the research gives is not so much a prescription as a box of basic recipes. You know, when chefs learn to cook professionally, they're given the underlying principles of culinary arts. When they discover their own particular strengths, they can go on to use the principles creatively. Then they become master chefs in their own right and open famous restaurants and fulfill their dreams. This is how I think of the lifestyles individuals can intentionally create for themselves based on so many of these research findings. The principles are key to making their own personal applications or recipes. I would argue that we live our best when we take the responsibility and make the effort to become the master chefs of our own lives, even when it's not easy to do. As you'll see, I hope, this kind of thinking when we're younger can make a positive difference for us when we grow older, especially for brain health. How do lifelong learning programs fit in this picture? Well, as they're run now, they tend to be a hodgepodge of courses. The underlying principles of brain health are at best given short shrift. Classes could become so much more valuable if more of them were built on an understanding of brain research. I came into Second Life and virtual worlds and have stayed because I see how it offers the opportunity to create lifelong learning programs and experiences that fulfill nearly all the requirements for brain fitness. Now, the technology here still has a big learning curve. I know this firsthand because I came in 18 months ago and at advanced stage myself and spent a year struggling not to inadvertently delete everything I built. I've met many avatars here who are older than 50, and some are even older than I am. In fact, the oldest person I've met so far is 84, and I suspect I haven't reached the limit yet. So it's clear that Second Life can be navigated by older people. I believe that baby boomers are going to find it even easier to enter virtuality as they age. Thank you, Edith. Because so many of them are comfortable using computers. That's why I see virtual education as a powerful platform for lifelong learning. That's why I started building an environment in Second Life that offers a combination of didactic and experiential education for anyone of any age, and especially boomers and older, who are interested in learning about and establishing good brain health practices. What do we mean by brain health? When researchers in different fields talk about the subject, they're often considering the brain from different angles. There's the physiological. How does this bodily organ look on brain scans? How does it show continuous neural growth? How can it best be protected from physical damage and disease? And then there's the functional. Can it remember, focus, learn, decide, plan, create, imagine? What promotes good executive functioning? And finally, there's the longitudinal. What keeps it alert so people can live independently and stay engaged with others when they grow old? What contributes to positive aging? As you can see, brain health is a huge subject to investigate. It really does cover the whole human lifespan from before birth to the end of consciousness. Research is showing that the brain has the potential to continue growing as long as we are alive and using it. This is called neuroplasticity, which means basically the ability to change. Change can go in two directions, of course. And this is a picture of a healthy and an Alzheimer's brain. Negative change goes towards physiological deterioration and lower functioning. Positive change goes toward the development of new neurons, which keeps our executive function strong. One way to think about this is rigidity versus flexibility. Are you an old fogey, or are you afraid of becoming one? This is what we might call cultivating an ageless mind. I've mentioned the different lines of research that different disciplines pursue. Helpfully for us poor humans, there's a lot of overlap in these findings, so they aren't overwhelming and contradictory. The underlying principles of all of them seem to be these. Protect the brain as a bodily organ throughout life. For example, try to avoid damage from things like repeated concussions. Actively treat disease conditions like high blood pressure and cholesterol and diabetes and depression as well and as soon as possible. It doesn't hurt to have a good genetic heritage, of course, but biology is not necessarily destiny, which is good news. Remember that the brain is part of the body. Yet it also houses that mysterious thing we call the spirit, which produces the capacity to love others, as well as fostering religion, art, and a sense of meaning and purpose. These capacities should also be honored. And its executive or cognitive functions are critical to our daily lives. They allow us to study, reason, drive cars, make money, and generally take care of more than just surviving. Thriving is what we're looking for in the world. Body, mind, and spirit are tightly interwoven in a healthy brain. Research suggests that strengthening all of these interweavings is the best thing to help maintain brain fitness over the long term. So we use the word holistic to acknowledge the brain's multiple abilities and needs without privileging one over another when we tend to its health. That's why I named my land in Second Life the Whole Brain Health Fairgrounds. A related way some researchers examine brain health is by identifying the kinds of daily activities that are correlated with mental alertness, a higher quality of life, and a longer life. So they investigate the contributing roles of diet and sleep, what foods contribute to heart-brain health, how much sleep, physical exercise, how much and what kind, what do you do if moving is difficult or even impossible, cognitive exercise, how much and what kinds, social relationships, what's important about them, spirituality, how does it contribute to health, how broadly should it be defined. They're finding that pursuing certain kinds of activities seems to have the added benefit of reducing the sort of stress that negatively impacts our quality of life and overtaxes the immune system, making us more susceptible to illness. Another value of focusing on a variety of lifestyle choices rather than prescriptions is that people are more likely to incorporate new activities and possibly new habits with less resistance, even if they do it pretty slowly, when these fit in with their already established lifestyles. The Kaizen way, for example, teaches us how to take incremental steps gradually that add up to big changes over time. That's spelled Kaizen, and you will see a book on this in the bibliography. Here is where positive psychology research comes in, with its focus on character strengths, those personal traits that energize us whenever we use them. When people can identify and use their greatest strengths well, it's much easier and more natural for them to put abstract principles into practice. I send fairground visitors to this site, www.viame.org, to take a free, validated survey of character strengths. They can then consider how to best use their top strengths by looking for them under the 6 Great Oaks of Learning on the Whole Brain Health Fairgrounds. Here's an example of one of those trees, which has little boxes with the specific strengths under it. Here's an example of how it works. My top signature strengths are curiosity, gratitude, optimism, and love of people and of learning. Together, they make it easy for me to connect with others around new ideas, to keep learning better ways to do things, and to search for the changing nature of purpose as I grow older. Because I'm optimistic, so I stay future-oriented. So those are very helpful strengths to have. And every strength that you have can be very helpful to you. It doesn't have to be these. Each of us has top strengths, and together they can help us set up our own kind of healthy lifestyle if we understand how to deploy them. That's why I included character strength learning on the fairgrounds too. What you'll notice about this research, whether you like to think holistically or in more specific terms, is that it can be made flesh through experience in Second Life. Let's go now through the magic of PowerPoint to the whole Brain Health Fairgrounds, which is built on 2 levels with well-marked teleporters to make everything accessible to visitors. As I said, I'm very excited by the role virtual worlds can play in offering lifelong learning that also intentionally enhances brain health. By consciously incorporating the principles I've outlined and changing them as more is discovered, all lifelong learning programs can become inherently more useful. I think virtual world education offers a number of advantages when you compare it to typical online and in-person educational paradigms. For instance, I said that Second Life has a big learning curve that can frustrate older residents. But this can be viewed another way. A big learning curve is exactly what challenges the brain and contributes to new neuronal growth. Virtual worlds are accessible to those who are homebound and geographically isolated. They encourage active involvement, stimulating the emotions and imagination, as well as the mind and body through interactions with others. We feel something quite unique when we meet each other virtually. And if you've had that experience, please just type something in chat. And all the lifestyle activities I've cited can be offered quite easily here, which has made it so much fun. As an aside, it'll be interesting to find out if we can have the same kinds of emotional experiences when we start accessing Second Life on mobile devices. I wonder about that. Every research approach has found positive interactions with other people to be of core importance to brain health. There's nothing emptier, at least to me, than spending too much time in virtual spaces where other people are not present, or in groups where no one really listens to anyone else. So on the fairgrounds, I've attempted to bring research to life. The role of people is central to this. Holding regular events to bring people together here is always on my agenda. And as an aside, if anybody listening to this is interested in coming and presenting, please talk to me. During the fair day, over 20 presenters gave of their time to teach and hold their programs. It was very exciting, and there was a lot of diversity, so there was something really for everybody. I've built the grounds to try to encourage these kinds of ongoing events. Now, besides that, I've tried to use an organic and lighthearted approach to the principles that we have set up to build on. So for diet and physical self-care on the grounds, there's a picnic area with tables laid out with visual suggestions for healthy food and drink. The lemonade is a little sweet for me, but I do like the veggies. And of course there's coffee, which we know is actually good for the brain. As you see, several people can sit together to eat and talk about food choices. And during the fair, we had someone come who was kind of an expert in this field to talk with people about their food choices. Almost everything here is done out of doors because so many studies show the value of regular contact with nature. Research is showing ever stronger links between heart health and brain health, and diet can play a large role in supporting both. Enough sleep plays a role in health too. So I try to suggest taking a snooze by the water by making it very comfortable to go there. Since exercise is considered to be such a major contributor to brain health, I try to encourage it in all forms. So you can res a bike right for your size, so small, large, medium, or large, and ride around the whole sim. It's most fun with others, as you can see here. Here's my dilemma, by the way, with biking. Since this is a virtual exercise, should I insist that avatars wear helmets? What do you think? Swimming is another physical activity that nourishes the brain. I didn't think so either. Swimming is another physical activity that nourishes the brain. You can use the floaty to swim in my water. I also have a wonderful swim animation that lets me do a backstroke, which is my favorite. Just watching yourself swim is relaxing, yet stimulating to the brain. That's such an interesting paradox with exercises that's being explored these days. Relaxing yet stimulating. Of course, we also have a trampoline because jumping can renew the body, focus the mind, and literally uplift the spirit. So try it when you visit and tell me what you think. I had a picture of that, but unfortunately I was so high in the air it was hard to see me, so I didn't put it in. I also want to add that during the fair we had a wonderful fire show which featured sort of fire, is it? Oh, I can't, this is senior moment for me. Wake you up a bit, right? Juggling. And juggling has actually been found to use really all parts of yourself. But I think it's a little hard for people to take up later in life, so I haven't included that. But it was fun to watch, though, and the person doing it really worked at that wonderful animation. The grounds have been set up to encourage walking from one place to another. Remember that the Greek peripatetic philosophers walked with their students in the olive groves so that they could think more clearly. And somebody's just given me some information about some wonderful animations to use for swimming, which I'm going to explore. And we haven't neglected dancing of all kinds. My favorite is the Latin group for couples, which singles can also use very nicely, and the music that accompanies it and stirs us so, which is rightly popular in Second Life. There's a lot of research on the value of music that we use. Here is a lively group, rhythmically drumming for a couple of wild dancers, and I think I am actually one of those wild dancers. It was a lot of fun. Drumming activities, by the way, have been found to help Alzheimer's patients become calmer as they drum. How do virtual physical activities aid brain health? Well, one thing is they increase the awareness that there are everyday ways to protect the brain against damage and disease. They're fun, and therefore more likely to increase motivation to apply that knowledge outworld. They can be incorporated into discussions in Second Life about how to take better care of ourselves and what we can do if we can't physically exercise outside. What else can we do? There are a lot of wonderful kinds of approaches that are being used even with people who cannot move very well. And General Heron made me aware of some of the things for people in wheelchairs, which I found fascinating. And perhaps watching yourself exercising, even if you can't or don't outworld, stimulates mirror neurons to rehearse muscle activity, as it has been found to do in some sports and in musicians who practice in their minds as well as actually practicing. At the very least, it may excite you to search out the ways you can stimulate your muscles. And that's always valuable. I'm just going to stop for a second as I change the screen and see. I haven't been watching chat, I'm sorry to tell you. Yes, virtual dancing really is great that way. And of course, real dancing is great because you do get out of breath. Related to physical is mental exercise. The critical importance of building cognitive resources or reserves over a lifetime is a hot topic in research. Just as with other muscles, you have to use it or you lose it with the brain. Thanks, Carl. It's more and more clear that lifelong learning, especially when it offers serious mental challenge, helps stave off mental decline. In everyday terms, it's also a good idea to move out of your comfort zone, varying your routine by doing simple things, such as taking unfamiliar routes to familiar places, not using your GPS, horrors, learning something difficult but intriguing to you, stretching your mind. All are crucial. You need to seek out learning curves and hard ones. You probably know that commercial companies offer brain sharpening games online. These can be helpful to hone short-term memory, and some strengthen hand-eye coordination. Researchers are divided as to whether these skills carry over into daily life. What does seem to transfer well is to practice problem solving within time constraints. In Second Life, concentration games and others you can play against the clock can do the same thing for free or almost free. So we feature games, and they're free to you there, created by some very clever scripters. Earlier this month, this is one game that is challenging, and there are about 5 or 6 others, and we keep changing them as people use them. Earlier this month, we hosted a visiting 3D maze that allows you to time yourself from start to finish, with, of course, prizes. This is really a real challenge to me because I'm not a terribly visual person. But it really forces you to use your memory so you don't keep making the same wrong turnings. Giving incentives to try a new activity seems to work equally well in Second Life and Outworld, I've found. Keeping your attention focused isn't easy in either place. Try to carry on an intelligent discussion while you answer IMs or check your mobile phone. By the way, intuition, I'm just going to stop for a second. Intuition in the maze works for people who have that kind of mind, I think. So far for me, it hasn't worked at all. So trying to carry on an intelligent conversation while you answer IMs or check your mobile phone is not easy. But when you understand how valuable it is to strengthen focus and attention span, you might be willing to make more of an effort. That's why I host Second Life presenters. Multitasking is bad for attention and learning. Yeah, so we want to try to develop more focus. That's why I host presenters who like to offer something novel and unique that requires effort, but is also stimulating and rewarding. For example, we're currently offering a fascinating class series. It's a series called Really Impossible, in quotes. Really Impossible. Students learn how to make moving objects without scripts. You thought it couldn't be done. It can. This week, tomorrow morning in fact, we're making ceiling fans. Last week, class members each made a backyard swing to take home. As you can see in this picture, there I am again, a camera hog. I find that the swing's slow harmonic motion stimulates thinking and interesting discussions. It's very relaxing to swing and even watch the swing going back and forth. I feel as though I am swinging. We can talk about why they need ceiling fans. Don't you have a very warm house during this time of year? Okay, is my sound okay? Let me know if it's... Okay. It's a lot of fun. This swing is a lot of fun because a bunch of people can pile on it. Well-facilitated meetings are also places to sharpen thinking and expand the mind. Book discussion groups are one kind. Philosophical, technology-oriented, psychological, and spiritual discussions are other kinds. We can hold these in our library, in the Center of the Arts for Well-Being, up on the Sky platform, which is a lovely Moroccan villa I hope you'll visit. Or we can hold them in the outdoor theater, where presenters can use video, another capability that makes virtual worlds like Second Life so versatile for lifelong learning. Talking together in a safe place through an avatar can help people create social relationships they might find it hard even to attempt outworld, especially if they suffer from social anxiety. As I've said, every kind of research emphasizes the importance of developing and maintaining nurturing relationships throughout life. Second Life offers so many opportunities for meeting new people of all ages. And you know, another thing that's been explored a lot and we're interested in is intergenerational relationships. Where do you have the opportunity to meet people of generations other than your own and to share your experiences with each other? Second Life is a wonderful place for that too. How nurturing the relationships are here depends a lot on where you look and what groups you should join, right? So it's really important to do some exploring. I feel as though I can explore here forever and won't come to the end of it. I've said that many areas overlap when we think holistically. I gave the example of the trampoline as an activity that can stimulate mind, body, and spirit. Yoga can do the same. On the fairgrounds, you can try out yoga on mats, and you can be either a beginner or an intermediate. I think that's wonderful. Breathing slowly in time with the poses adds another element to its multiple benefits for you. And of course, there's meditation. Research studies are being done on many types of meditation. To some degree, they all seem to work for some people. Another reason you need to explore in order to discover what works best for you. That is, what you'll practice consistently. And that's really the key to any of these things I'm talking about. You want to try things out to find out what draws you and what you will continue to do consistently in new forms, because you don't want it to get into a routine with anything, although with meditation it can certainly be helpful to follow the same pattern, but not necessarily. I personally like meditating to music and to visualizations, but not everybody does. The range of animations for spiritual practice in Second Life is astounding. Yes, Edith, Tai Chi is one I've tried. Qigong is another I've tried here, which I do out in real life, and it's amazing to do it here too. Singing lotuses, where you can sit and just hear the sound and even rotate as you meditate, does something as you watch it for your body, as well as your spirit and your mind. And here we have a shamanic journey that's even available here, complete with drum sounds. You lie down on it, and you can hear as well as follow the journey. The role that imagination plays in refreshing us should never be underestimated. And of course, that is what Second Life has par excellence. We include spirituality in its broadest sense in the Fairgrounds when we think about its role in brain health. The essence of spirituality may be that it helps balance heart and mind. And the connection between heart and mind through the vagal nerve is a very interesting new area of research. How one affects the other in a kind of feedback loop. Many kinds of activities, besides the ones I've shown, nourish the spirit. So we offer music you can both play and listen to. I have, for example, pianos, of course, and I have a wonderful harp that you can sit and play. And drums, as you saw, you can come with friends or by yourself and really, yes, that's right, Carla. The brain gets trained by the feedback. So you can drum by yourself, and you can feel, there are different patterns of drumming you can try and see how each affects you, or you can do it with others. As you can do dancing too, you can dancing in a group and individually and see the difference, reflecting on the differences between things and what each one feels like to you is a great part of stimulating the brain and keeping it growing. There's a fine arts gallery on the Sky platform with original paintings and sculptures. I like to collect these. So if you have some favorite artists, please let me know about them. One of my favorites there is of a picnic area near Woodstock, the Woodstock of 60s fame, which is not far from where I live outworld, and I've actually been there. And let me see, I just lost my place. Okay, I had, by the way, originally I had about 42 slides, and somebody said to me, you know, I think that 42 is just going to be too much, so I had to get rid of some. I have so many wonderful slides of the grounds. There's also literature in the form of library books. Somebody has made me a wonderful set of bookcases where you can pull out books. And I'm in the process now of putting books in there, deciding what books to put in. And I would like, if some people have original poetry and so on, to have that available for people there too. So please contact me about that, because a library should be used. Most of my best friends are librarians, by the way. My baby is this, the Poetry Maze. And there, I had so much fun making it, and I have fun having people go through it. I challenge you to search there for the books that hold the fragments of a poem I have dismembered. I change the poems frequently, using pieces by well-known poets as well as original poems by SL residents. And those are trickier for people, but they're fun in a different way. If you reconstitute the poem and send it to me, I reward you with lindens. You even get partial credit for making a serious effort. It's been a very successful incentive. You can also see in the picture here a scroll that says "Touch Me." This is a project that Dr. Green and I are collaborating on called Words of Wisdom, or Your Best Advice in a 7-Word Sentence. We hope ultimately to compile a book of anonymous best advices. Yes, many places do, and one of the things I'm trying to make clear is that I want people to come to the Whole Brain Health Fairgrounds to find out what else is available in Second Life, and if they like poetry, to start going to things consistently and regularly, because that makes a difference. So I'm really looking to connect with people who hold events that are what I call brain healthy. I also provide places to sit quietly and contemplate, because contemplation in this busy world is so important. And sometimes having a place you can see and have your avatar sit in actually works better than trying to find time in real life. So I have a Mediterranean garden. It's very nice for that. Or you can walk contemplatively in this ancient medieval labyrinth that's on the grounds. And as you go through, you can find some colorful eggs that lead you to the center to a treasure, where again you can earn lindens. I'll show you in a moment where the center is. There is the center of the labyrinth. And you can see that I don't take very good pictures, but you get the idea. Reflecting on learning. That's kind of a feedback within your brain, is a key to internalizing it fully in the brain. That's true for both didactic learning and experiential learning. And I speak as somebody who's been a Gestalt and body-oriented therapist for over 30 years. I find that people do need some way to process what they experience to really make a difference and hold it. So at the heart of the labyrinth, I ask visitors to share their experience of the fairgrounds via this blue mailbox. They can put in a They can put in a note card with the information that I asked for. They can take out the note card and put it back in. And again, I reward people with lindens for spending the time and making the effort. This gives me feedback to keep improving the grounds, and hopefully it encourages the visitors to savor their experiences a bit more. Savoring is another positive attribute for the brain. A final note before we leave the fairgrounds. Following the precepts of brain research, I'm constantly rebuilding, renewing, and recreating the grounds to provide fresh experiences for returning visitors. So renewing, doing new things, doing a variety of things, not getting into a rut. It's really important for brain health. So new games, new presenters, new poems, new sights and sounds, new ideas, as well as the ones that are there, are things we offer. Boredom is the enemy of alertness and growth. And this is the final slide. Now to the final questions of this presentation. Can or do these kinds of experiences make a difference in participants' lives beyond virtual worlds? That is, do they help participants consistently practice better brain health outworld? What would increase the likelihood of such a transfer of learning? The rest is try it, reflect on it, talk about it. The answers to some of these questions by becoming a participant on the fairgrounds. Please contact me. As I said, my contact information is in the bibliography note card, which is in the box behind me, the large box with the Whole Brain Health Fairground logo. So that's my presentation today, and I'd like to open the floor now to any questions and thoughts you have about anything I've said or my final questions. I'll do my best to respond to you. How much time do we need to improve our brain? Days, months, years? As I've said, this is really something you should start doing the moment you know that you can do things to help yourself with your brain. Because there are so many things you can just bring into your daily life, so it becomes part of who you are and how you live. But going back to one of the first statements I made, one of the things they say is it's never too early or too late, which means that even people who are in their 70s and 80s and even older can benefit from doing some of these things on a pretty regular basis. I would say, try to incorporate something that you find it easy to do, on a regular basis. It's just, as I said to you about character strength, something that you find energizes you, and do a variety of them, thinking about body, mind, and spirit, trying to cover all the bases. Many times we think we're either too cognitive, or we're too physical, or we're too spiritual, to the detriment of the other things. So what I am suggesting is that trying to balance these things so that you do the things that are not so comfortable or familiar to you has benefit. Does that answer your question? I don't think there's any prescription here. It's really a recipe. Yes, balance is the other key word. Exactly. Okay, anything else anybody has to offer or suggest about transfers from your own experience? I hope that you would consider joining the Whole Brain Health group, because I will tell you about the events we're holding, and we'll have presenters in all the different areas over time. Yes, laughter helps a great deal, and that's why I said I tried this to be lighthearted. As far as diet goes, there are a lot of different ideas about diet, so I think you have to be careful about getting too stuck on one of them. You laugh at yourself all the time. That's a very good way to go through life, I think, to be able to laugh at oneself, right? I do the same thing. I think it's good. Makes it easier not to take myself too seriously with all this. But as far as diet goes, we know that vegetables are very good for us, right? Some people are concerned about GMOs in vegetables. I am. But I wouldn't voice that on somebody else. I think that what I want to encourage people to do is to start exploring this field by thinking about diet, thinking about and starting to learn through things I can present and through things that you can find yourself and bring to me, some of the things that help you. Did that answer that question? Okay, anything else? Good. I just want to say again that I don't try to give you prescriptions. I try to give you sort of descriptions and recipes, general recipes. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've said at the beginning that my own experience was of having my mother, who had dementia, live with us for the last years of her life. And then after that, having other relatives to take care of who had various forms of cognitive impairment. So that really motivated me to learn a lot. Thank you. Oh, yes. Yes, I think that anything you can do to help yourself if you had any kind of brain damage or anything like that empowers you. It makes you have a sense of self-efficacy, and those are all good. Yes, thank you about the connection between music and exercise. We do a lot of work on our website with what's being discovered about music and the power it can have to help. It can help people exercise more. The studies show that when you use music to exercise, you tend to do it more consistently and for longer periods of time. It can be used also for, certainly the transcendent feelings that you can have. And music actually has a whole cognitive piece that my husband teaches by the way he talks about music to really get people to listen differently and to be able to listen to music they might not listen to otherwise and expand that way too. Yes, and music can be used. Gabriel Gifford, who was shot in Arizona, learned to speak again, shot in the head, learned to speak again by doing it to music, following that pattern. And there's some research that shows that music really preceded speech, and speech came from music. Oh, that's wonderful, Edith. So I hope you visit the fairgrounds, and I hope you contact me. And I love to spread the community and spread the work. Thank you.